Okay, it's nearing 7 o'clock. We're going to want to welcome everyone and open up the meeting for the Committee of Whole for December 5th, 2022. We'll start with the treaties of peace and friendship. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq peoples. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which Wolastoqiyik, Mi'kmaq, and Passamaquoddy peoples first signed with the British Crown in 1726. The treaties did not deal with surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqiyik title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. Thank you. Walalan. Next is the oath of office. We do hereby accept the office of council and will diligently, faithfully, and impartially discharge to the best of our ability the duties of the office as may be imposed upon us by law. And before I get to the agenda, just want to acknowledge the presence of the RCMP officers and thank you for your service and for attending tonight. And with that, we move to the adoption of the agenda. Any additions?
Yep, I would like to add a discussion on the audit of the building.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, with the amended agenda, can I get a mover?
M 2022-1205-179, that the agenda be adopted with the amendment.
Can I get a seconder?
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passed. Any conflicts of interest? Just let the clerk know. And then we move on to members of council. Councilor Carrier.
I would like to open a discussion on having our legal advisor, Mr. Andre Daigle, come to Beldoon to have a discussion with council regarding many of the issues we've been having in order to get clarification. Since being elected to serve on council, I have learned many things. Firstly, I have learned that to be elected to serve, it requires little more than to be over the age of 18 and have ID showing that you have an address in the community that you'd like to serve in. You don't need to have a background in government, law, accounting, or even a high school diploma. It's basically a popularity contest that boils down to who gets the most votes. I have learned that what governs a council and what is meant to keep it operational and running correctly by a bunch of people who for the most part have no experience or political background is 1, the Local Governance Act, and 2, our municipal bylaws. It would be impossible for anyone to review and memorize all of these legal documents, which is why we as council depend so much on our staff. Our staff is here to either know the information or to find the information from someone with the educational background to interpret the laws or information correctly to keep us informed and protected. Let me give an example. When we as council members are given 40 pages of engineering drawings and specifications to review before making a decision that affects our community, it can be overwhelming. It is a big responsibility as the decisions we make will affect our community in many ways, including financially. As Mr. Jack Novak pointed out to us, we are amateurs and we as council members are not supposed to interpret such things. We are supposed to have these things interpreted for us and the information brought to us by someone who is educated in such things. We are not supposed to pretend to understand things we do not. We are supposed to get the answers from the people who are qualified to give them to us and use that information to make informed decisions. Much of what I have been experiencing on council lately is that our bylaws are not being followed correctly. Advice from our staff is not being taken and information that has been provided by the professionals in their field have been ignored. When a council member is not free to bring a motion to the table for discussion and for a vote, that is not democracy. A simple definition to the word democracy is control of an organization or group by the majority of its members. If one person is going to dictate what the rest of council is allowed to discuss or vote on, that is dictatorship. It is the job and responsibility of the mayor to preside at all meetings, provide leadership to council, communicate information and recommend actions to council for the improvement of the local government's finance, administration, and government. Speak on issues of concern to the local government on behalf of council and perform any other duties conferred on him or her by any other act or by council. A councillor shall consider the welfare and interests of the entire municipality when making decisions, bring to the attention of council matters that may promote the welfare or interests of the municipality, participate in developing and evaluating the policies and programs of the municipality, participate in meetings of council, council committees, and any other body to which he or she is appointed by council, and perform any other duties conferred upon him or her by this or any other act or by council. It would appear that we all have some things to learn, and I feel we could benefit from having someone who is an expert in their field bring us some insight and information to help us to perform our duties in a way that better serves our community. As a very wise woman pointed out to me, democracy means getting your say, not getting your way. This has been my say.
Okay, any other council members?
Thank you, Christy, and you're right. A lot of that, yeah, you're right on that. We all need to learn. There's so much to know, and what we need to do is what's best for our community. We're not here for ourselves, we're here to serve the public. And what you said in there, it brings a lot home. I've been on council for the last 6.5 years, and there's a lot of challenges. You learn every day, you learn with everything that comes to the table. You don't always please everybody. It's impossible to make everybody happy. So every vote you make, you know you're going to have some people that's not happy with it, but you need to do what's right for your community. We're here to serve our people.
Anyone else?
I'm in agreement with Councillor Corrier. I believe that our legal should come up and sit with us so that we can just air everything and just feel comfortable after he is gone that we're going to move in the right direction.
Anyone else?
Yeah, it is time to flip the page and move on. At the end of the day, I agree, your comments are well taken and well said. You know, council has had some differences, but there is a difference between, you know, a crucifixion and a forgiveness. So at the end of the day, we certainly do need to have some guidance on where we're going and how things are going to materialize in the future. But at the end of the day, you know, we still need to look at where we are going and work together to achieve those results. So, you know, I, for one, am here to say that I agree 100%, and the future will be a lot different than the past.
Councilor Robinson?
No, I have lots to say on the next one, but yeah, I think it's more than time for Andre to come and have a talk to council about what procedures are being followed correctly and what are not, what people's roles are and what people's roles are not. So yeah, I would love to have him come up and have a conversation. And I hope people listen to what he has to say and abide by his decisions.
Okay, so Councilor Robinson, you're up.
Okay, my first item was a rezoning request by Blair Guitar. He started an auto mechanic or a heavy equipment mechanic diesel shop. He has a mobile unit that he has right now. He wants to set up in the large garage on his property. Because it's a residential area, it requires a rezoning, so that application has been made to the Planning Commission, so I just want council to be aware that that's coming up. The application was made, so it's going through the process now.
Anyone want to follow that up?
I'm sorry, the address, is that before the rail line or after?
It's before. It's before the railroad.
Okay, that's all I needed to know, thanks.
Okay.
Okay, the next issue is the audit on the building, which your Facebook post was a little false in that you were saying you have been pushing for 1.5 years for this financial audit on the building. This has not been brought back to the table since September of 2021, when Deputy Mayor Burke asked for an engineer to come evaluate the value of the building to see if the taxpayers got $4.6 million worth of a building after the renovations. You make some pretty serious allegations in public regarding the corruption on that project. You have said publicly that people are going to jail over this project. Those are serious accusations. and I find very offensive for staff, for the contractors, for the councillors who made those decisions. Now, when the audit was first brought up, it was a forensic audit. Those were big words to be thrown out there because that's the biggest impact. When Jack Novak was here and we talked about the audit on the building, and there is an external and independent audit on the finances of the village regardless of the project. So those checks and invoices have already all matched up. So then the question is, how did that project go so wrong? And you're claiming there's a $3 million over on the project. Your first tender that was approved, and you raised your hand to say, yep, let's go ahead and do this, was $2.7 million. That included the asbestos abatement. The total project cost was $4.6 million, so I don't know where you're getting $3 million over. Now, do I think the project was smart? Nope, not by any means. However, where the project went wrong, and when we were talking about the audits, and I offered Deputy Mayor Burke to help write exactly what we were looking for and what the parameters were, what the scope was, to look at an operational or a project audit, which I think probably could have been benefited from, which nobody was interested at the time, you included. And what's interesting, because when you go through the minutes of that project, and I have multiple times, and you see where things have gone wrong. And what I find very interesting is one of the minutes of the meetings where you specifically are asking how to get around the procurement policy, which is the laws that govern how the public purse is protected. You wanted to get around those laws specifically so that projects could move forward even though they were over budget. And that question was asked by other councillors, and you still wanted to push forward with hiring local contractors over budget on a project. So I find it really shameful that you're pushing this people going to jail and corruption when you made the decisions to move forward on this project from start to end.
Since Deputy Mayor Burke put the motion forward, I'll allow him to follow up if he wishes.
Yeah, when you look at it, the word audit, forensic audit may have been a stronger word than maybe what we needed to use. I know for a fact that there are half a dozen different type of audits that can be done. Maybe it should have been worded as a procedural or procedural audit or something along that line. But with that said, it comes down to that, it was something that I personally, and I'm not speaking for the mayor, I'm speaking for myself, that I personally believe that should have been done. At the end of the day, I still believe it should be done, but the other side of the coin to that is I have made a firm commitment that that council will make the decisions, and I have made it very clear that I will respect the decisions of the majority of council. That's where I stand on it.
Anyone else?
Yes, on that Facebook message, we also were asked for the people to call us. I got some calls, and the people that call me will say, well, what is going to change? We spend the money. There was any projects of that magnitude, you're going to hit problems and hurdles, and we did. We hit them. And then we were supposed to get money, and that money never came through. And there was one thing after another. It just seemed that it was just a lot of problems. I don't see the audit serving the community in any way, because we're going to spend $10,000s of dollars and get the same answers and all the same numbers, because every year there's audits on the numbers that are going in for any projects or any work that's being done. So that's how I feel. And I know that the people that's called me, and I thought, oh no, there we go. We're going to get calls and people are going to hunt us to want to audit, which I believe some people do, but the people that call me just feel that, why are we spending more money? There's nothing that's going to change. The building is here. Going forward, we just need to do things smarter. We've learned by by this, and I know I did, and I know a lot of people doesn't like that the building is here, but I'm very proud of this building, and I love the community, I love the area it is. It's in the heart, in the middle of our village. So that's how I feel about it.
Anyone else?
I'd like to say too, that when that motion was brought back in September, I asked then, well, for one, apparently the wording wasn't even correct, so I think that goes again to what I was saying, that as far as amateurs, and basically you didn't even know what it was you were asking for when you made the motion, and then got upset when it wasn't passed. But I asked at that time, what is the end game? Like, okay, so somebody comes in and looks around and says, yep, you overspent, you overpaid, you didn't get your value, then what? Like, what, it doesn't change anything, you've just spent more money. And for the mayor to be putting Facebook posts out to the public, for one, he was signing it Mayor Paul, but I hope everybody knows that he was not speaking on behalf of council with those posts, because one, all of the public didn't even have access to it. And two, that is not how council feels. So he was not the voice of council when he was making those posts and signing it as Mayor Paul. But if he was on council at that time and suspected any wrongdoing, it was his place in that point in time to say something or do something about it then. You know, like, to come back now at this point in time, there's been audits done. I don't know what they're expecting. If there was wrongdoing at the time, if it was a conflict of interest or whatever it was you suspected, it should have been reported then. There's no evidence to make us believe that anything like that has happened now. Do we think that it was overspent on this building? Anybody with two eyes can see that. There's things in this building that were not needed, and for the price and value, we don't need to pay anybody to come in here and tell us that. So that's where I stand on it.
Councilor Guitar McDonough?
I too have been approached by a couple of residents, and they also feel that moving on this would not be beneficial. It's money that we didn't put into the budget. Let's put that out there. And for no reason, the results would be the same, and that we just need to move on.
Okay. I think that wraps up the agenda. So can we get a mover to adjourn?
M 2022-1205-180, that the meeting is adjourned at 7:18.
Seconder?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Meeting adjourned. Okay, just give us a second and we'll take, if anybody has